welcome to episode 7 of the Target Acquired podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy, aka Jerbear. On today's episode, we're going to be going over the new Inhumans that were teased by AMG, as well as an unexpected affiliation box for the Guardians. Crisis Event 1 is right around the corner, so we're going to be briefly talking about that. And lastly, we're going to be going over our thoughts for what we would like to see in the game for this coming up year. Let me pass it over to the others that are going to be joining me today and let them introduce themselves.
This is John. I go by Swooper on Discord.
This is Matt. I go by Papa Booey online.
And this is Sean. I go by Reynolds Rap on Discord.
All right, well, let's get started. So first up, we have the new Inhumans that were just teased. 2 characters, King Blackbolt and Maximus the Mad, were shown off. Some interesting stuff with them. I'm going to actually pass it over to our Inhumans expert / only player that actually plays them in our group, Matt, and let you kind of go over them.
All right, let's start with the King like we always should. So, King Blackbolt, he's coming in at a 6 threat this time instead of 5. He does not have a leadership on him, and he's pretty much just a big old beat stick with some utility thrown on top. So he's a 4 defense all across the board. He's got 7 health on his front, and oh shoot, I don't have.
Both sides are the same, I think. His health
No, he's
changes.
he's got what, 8 on the back or 9 on the back?
8, I believe.
Yeah, because he's still sitting at 15.
Yeah.
So 7 on the front, 8 on the back. What's that? A medium base, size 2, and he moves medium. So the big thing for him right off the bat, we're looking at a gainer attack of energy, beam 4, 5 dice. We're going to gain 1, as always, after each attack. Now, this one's worded funny, because this says after this attack is resolved, this character gains 1.
That's how they're all worded.
Are they all worded like that one?
Yeah, all the beam attacks are like that.
Okay.
Because each one is a separate, technically, attack, even though it's a beam. Each beam person you hit is an attack. So every time a character is hit, you're gaining 1.
And then a wild trigger is going to give a push. So after the attack is resolved, the target is going to be pushed away short if it is size 3 or less. So down the middle with a beam 4, if you're getting those wilds on everybody, you're just going to be displacing a whole lot of players. His spender is going to be Wrath of the Mountain King. We're looking at a range 3, 8 die physical attack. After the attack is resolved, he's going to advance medium, and the trigger on a wild is going to throw the target character short in any direction before the damage is dealt.
That would be Wrath of the Midnight King.
What did I say?
Mountain King?
Did I say Mountain King?
Yeah.
Got some dwarves on the mind.
I've been watching too much Demon Slayer lately. Inosuke's got me
Messed up, man.
All right, so that throw, I always love that throw when it's before the damage is dealt rather than after the damage is dealt. And it's any size, so that's going to be throwing some big boys around at the opponents. His first little bit of a synergy with his attacks he has is increase the volume. So for 3 power, he can add 2 dice to the attack rolls in his next attack action. So when he does that Sonic Blast and he has that beam going, he's going to be rolling 7 dice on a beam 4. That's pretty nasty. And then to give him a little bit more mobility, he has hit and run. So for 2 power, it's going to be 1 action, and he's going to make an attack action immediately followed by a move action. Only once per turn. Telepathic Command is going to be coming in at 2 power. He's going to choose another allied character within 4 of him and advance it short. That is going to be once per turn, not once per person, like some other effects. He gets the regular Inhuman ability of re-rolling any 1 die in any attack or defense roll. And then adding on to him with anti-graviton control, he's going to have the same old gain 1 additional power in the power phase like he used to have, but he's also going to gain the DR1, so he's going to reduce all damage coming in down to a minimum of 1. Oh, and that's not, I just noticed for the first time, it's not from enemy effects, it's any damage.
Okay.
So that could come in handy in a couple different cases. And then last but not least, we have the Inhuman King. This one's pretty neat. At the start of the activation phase, the Inhumans player can choose 1 allied character with the Inhuman superpower. They remove 1 special condition. So getting rid of those staggers or getting rid of those nasty stuns early on. And then he has flight and immunity poison, just like before. I'm pretty excited about him. I was really hoping to get a game in with him this weekend. It's going to have to save for next weekend, but I think he's going to be a menace down the middle of the...
Yeah, I agree. The Wrath of the Midnight King, I really like that the throw is before. It does make it much scarier. And it feels better when, you get a spike on your roll and you go, yeah, I've knocked this guy out. Oh, I can't throw him now. Crap. And so having it before, being able to get the placement, maybe you don't want that person next round coming back and just having a ton of power to clap back into you. So getting them away from you and then also getting the days off is nice.
But yeah, so just looking at a Black Bolt real quick, I don't know that you would actually use his spender almost any time. I think it would be better use of power to just keep on increasing his beam attack and keep on using beam if you have more than one target that you're hitting. If you need the movement, you use hit and run.
Yeah, it's crazy that the increase the volume is the action. So you get it on the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's deadly, especially if people are going to be close up to each other and you have multiple targets for the beam. It's going to be that much sweeter. I could still see, though, for like the Midnight King attack, that's a lot of movement, especially if you tie hit and run into it.
But you don't need... Well, okay, sure. You can double stack the hit and run with that.
He'll get across the board easily, no matter what he does.
I'm just saying it's more situational. I think your go-to is going to be the beam attack every single activation until you need to do something else with him.
For sure. I mean, if you can beam, do the beam.
And then I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because I think he's really going to be best because clearly you're not taking old Black Bolt as your leader anymore. So you need a new leader. We'll get to Maximus in a second. I'm torn on his leadership. I don't know how I feel about it yet. But if we look at Inhuman Queen, one of the new tactics cards coming out, when you would normally pick an active leadership ability, if your squad is Inhuman affiliated and you have Medusa in it, you're going to gain the following leadership. And that's once per turn, when an allied character dazes or KOs an enemy character, it may gain 1 power, remove 1 damage, and advance short. So if Black Bolt's rolling up, he's going to daze somebody. We know he's going to daze somebody. So he's going to get a little bit of a power boost and a short movement off of that as well. That's going to make him really scary.
Yeah, the only other thing that I see on his card that piqued my interest, and I hope others down the road start doing things similar, is the Inhuman King. It's very unique. I don't think we've ever had it on any other character before as far as affecting other allies during an activation phase. I really like it. I think it's a little bit like a cherry on top of a character, but it has
it's like a little mini. It's like a little mini leadership.
Yes, that's how I saw it. You're getting your main leadership, and then there's the little cherry on top for you too. So it's it'll be nice to see if they start introducing that to other main characters coming down the road. Like maybe they'll do a new Green Goblin and introduce something like that for him, or they might end up doing it for other were leaders, now not leader characters.
God, I hope they don't make a 5-threat Green Goblin. Jesus Christ. That's excessive. Could you imagine like leaders just kept getting higher in points and you're like, what is this, 7-threat Sin doing over here?
Her best.
But I mean, at that point, they wouldn't be leaders. So I could see a situation where they're tying things like the Inhuman King. They'll tie effects like that into a character that used to be a leader. That now maybe their new character that's came out for them is not.
And then real quick, since we're on Black Bolt, I'm going to just jump ahead into tactics cards again as well, since this one's tied directly to him. Genetic Prophecy, during the power phase, if you have at least 2 fewer victory points than your opponent, an allied Blackagar Boltagon, so you can use this on either version of him, can play the card, you immediately gain 2 victory points. The downside is this round, this character cannot make attack actions. So a little cheeky comeback play, because I like to alpha strike as hard as I can with the Inhumans, and I don't mind going down in victory points in round 1 or 2. And this just makes it all the more comfortable to do it when you can just catch up real quick.
King Black Bolt, it seems pretty good. I feel like he's still really similar to old Black Bolt. I thought we would get something a little bit different. He seems like he serves the exact same purpose as old Black Bolt. He's on a bigger base. He's obviously bigger, stronger, better, but it seems like the same thing.
Well, he lost Bodyguard, and I think Bodyguard was one of the big things that OG Black Bolt has going for him.
True, he lost Bodyguard, but granted the card is not out yet. The back of the box seems to point to Gorgon having Bodyguard. So you're going to get Bodyguard back and just in a different form, I think. And this is all speculation, of course.
Yeah, and until we see the other characters, it's hard to tell. I feel like he plays a different role. I'm a little disheartened that he didn't come with a bigger shout attack on his flip side like the old one did. I thought that was pretty cool. I liked characters that had special effects on their wounded side, or they got a little something different. It kind of changed things up instead of it just being the same on both sides. I would have loved to see that come back with this card for him, but
I do like that too. I like when characters flip and they're different on their flip side for, some sort of reason, like how Goblins is and Wolverines are, where they get crazy. I like that stuff. I wish there was more of that in the game. I feel like it used to show up every once in a while. Now I feel like it barely shows up at all. And let's go ahead and we'll move on to the second character that was revealed, Maximus the Mad.
All right, we got the crazy brother coming in hot now. So he's a 4 threat. He's got the typical mystic heavy defense line here at 2 physical, 3 energy, 5 mystic, and I think that's going to be a problem for him down the line. He's rocking 6 health, small base, size 2, medium move. His builder is going to be Brain Freeze. We're looking at a 4 range, so I always like seeing that. It's 5 dice. You're going to gain damage equal to how much, you're going to gain power equal to how much damage you dealt. And on a wild, you're going to get suppressive. So for this one, after the attack is resolved, the target character is going to lose 1 power for each wild in the attack roll. So Jeremy, you get a nice little spike over there on him. You could take all that power off of Immortal Hulk in 1 hit.
Yeah, that's the plan.
His spender is going to be Neuro Annihilation. So range 3, you're rolling 9 dice. It's going to cost you 5 power. And the defending character cannot add additional dice to its defense roll or modify its defense dice. So they're just flat out rolling their defense stat and they are stuck with it. A wild trigger is going to stagger the opponent. So after their attack is resolved, the target character is going to gain stagger. His leadership, Call Me Maximus the Magnificent, is a complicated one. So the first time each turn an allied character attacks or defends during the modified dice step, it must use this leadership. And is that the first time we've seen a must in a leadership?
I believe so. Outside of Dormammu's saying that you must use his leadership, that's the only time I think I've seen it.
So with this one, you're going to re-roll 1 if it's attack or defense dice. If the re-rolled result is a skull, after the attack is resolved, your opponent places the allied character within 1 of its current position, and then Maximus gains 1 power. I mean, in most cases, the attack or defense re-roll is going to be beneficial, but I know it's just going to tilt me that time. I get 5 successes on a 5 dice attack, and I'm forced to re-roll 1 out of them, and it's going to be a skull. Moving down his card, we're going to have Did You Forget Why You're Here? It is going to cost you 2. You choose a character within 3 with an activated token. You're going to advance that character short, and it can only be used once per turn. So you wait till later in the activations for Maximus to go, and then he's just going to move someone off an objective, and that's going to be a fun play. It's Madness, My Favorite Kind, is going to cost you 2 power. When an enemy character within 3 of this character makes an attack, during the modified dice step of this character may use a superpower, the attacking character rerolls 2 of their dice. So this is pretty much Crimson Dynamo's ability, but he has to pay it at the start of the attack, doesn't he?
I'd have to.
No, I'm pretty sure it's in the modified step.
Is that when he pays it?
I'm pretty sure I have to pay it ahead of time. Every time before the attack, I pay for it.
Yeah. So this is just like a better version of that, and that ability's already great. So I was really struggling at first looking at him and thinking where I was going to fit him into my Inhumans, and that might be the ability that really sells him. Routing out his card, he does have the Inhuman rule, so he's going to re-roll 1 die in his attack and defense rolls, and he also has immunity poison. He's a mixed bag for me. I definitely want to play him. Having some mystic attacks is going to be a nice change for my Inhumans, so he's definitely going to get tried out for that. Now, the non-Inhuman players in the group, what do you guys think about?
I don't care for him. There's one character in particular he very much reminds me of. And it's also another character most people don't play. And if we change his clothes a little bit to be yellow and we shave his head, you'll know who I'm talking about. Because, close, Ancient One. He is very, very much like Ancient One when it comes to his stats. What his attacks can do. His spender is almost identical to hers, except for his is a little stronger but costs a little bit more. He's got some defensive tech, but it's nothing on his card wows me.
What are you looking at?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
So
You
Ancient
are
One
on
has
crack.
Ancient One has the same defenses as him, same health, same cost, everything. The spender for him, how it reads out, it's the same thing as Ancient One's spender.
It's not at all. I don't know what you're reading.
Cannot add additional dice to defense rolls or modify its defense dice.
Okay.
Sure, but it's an 8 dice, 4 power, range 2. This is range 3, 9 dice, and has stagger.
Yeah, it also automatically adds stagger.
So again, not a 1-for-1 comparison, but they're pretty close in the things that they do.
I mean, if you're looking at this character as a splash character, and you're only looking at the attacks, sure. What I think Maximus really brings to Inhumans, though, is a different dynamic of play. Like, Black Bolt's leadership is you can play it mission-focused. You can also play it attrition-focused. The new tactics card is Malekith's leadership, and we all know what that did, because that terrorized the entire meta for over a year. This gives them more mission play. I really like the did you forget what we're here for? Because, like, the ability to move a character that's already activated, just flat out move it, there's no size restriction, nothing, is amazing.
It only costs 2 power too, which is really nice. It's cheap.
Yeah, I do like his abilities being cheap, and then having that range 4, he's going to be blasting people and gaining power relatively safely in the back line too.
Well, don't forget, he's also probably going to gain a power because you're going to fuck up and roll a skull, right?
Hey, he's going to gain 1 power
He's gonna
every
gain a
turn
power.
from me. He
Well,
may as well be Loki.
And this is the first time we've seen a leadership that actually has a negative effect tied to it.
No.
So I'm a little surprised to see something like that pop up on a leadership.
That's not true.
Which,
Dormammu's leadership, if you have too much power on you, you take damage.
how much power do you have to have on
If you have over 6 on a character, you take damage for having over 6. And the problem with that is Dormammu forces you to generate 2 every turn. So it's pretty easy to hit that 6 mark. So you end up taking damage as you play.
I mean, in all reality, I wasn't even thinking about him. But I think most people don't think about him when it comes to taking him. So
Yeah, the leadership's odd.
Fun. Like, I
Yeah.
definitely, I would enjoy playing it, but I don't think I'd enjoy playing it in a competitive setting.
Right. I think the model looks fantastic. I don't understand why I know you're rolling 9 dice for his spender, so you're probably going to get a wild. But if I'm paying 5 power, just put it in there.
Yeah.
That what I think is crazy is, I'm going to roll those 9 dice and I'll be the one that doesn't get the stagger, every time and be like, this sucks. I spent 5 power. I didn't get the stagger. Granted, you're probably killing somebody, but
Yeah, I'm still in the boat. I like the way that they're going with like almost all secondary abilities on attacks being trigger based.
Do you think he's worth taking just for his card, though? His card's pretty freaking baller.
You mean his tactics card?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, so plots within plots. It's an unaffiliated, it's reactive. I didn't even realize it's unaffiliated, so you can splash him with this one. During the power phase, Maximus the Mad may spend 4 power until the cleanup phase once per turn. When an enemy character ends a movement within 2 of an allied character, after the effect is resolved, an allied character not within 2 of the enemy character may advance short. So again, you're moving Black Bolt around a little bit more in most cases, getting people on objectives last minute. There's so much movement that can happen with this card.
I feel like he should have the power pretty easily. I'm also surprised he doesn't generate an extra power.
I think it's because they want you to take his leadership and not splash him for that card.
Yeah. Well, you know what? He reminds me of like Professor X, because I thought the same thing with Professor X is he should generate extra power and he doesn't. And he kind of does a lot of the, he sits back, shoots off. He has that 2 physical. Man, you throw something at him though, this poor guy is going to eat it.
Yeah. Throws are going to be a massive problem for him.
Yeah, throws are going to be super rough from him. I'm really, really curious. I wish we had gotten that Karnak and Gorgon box. I feel like there's going to be something in there that is going to make him even, I think he's all right, but I think it's something that's going to set him off.
Watch Gorgon have some kind of bodyguard ability for throws.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. That would be crazy. And like he moves and takes the throw.
Mm-hmm.
That would be pretty neat. I would be all for that mechanic too. I think that would be a cool ability to have, something different.
Well, is that how Meet My Executioner works? Is it a throw or an attack that triggers it?
I do not know.
I think it's a throw. So it might be it'd be like something like Meet My Executioner.
Also, for the Crimson Dynamo thing, when Crimson Dynamo is targeted, he has to spend his power to do it. So he has to do it right away as soon as he's targeted by an attack to make you re-roll those 2 dice, where Maximus here gets the weight.
Gotcha. Is it just Crimson Dynamo, or it's allies of him too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever a ally targeted or himself within 3, I think is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a nice little utility boost for it.
His is only for him.
No, it doesn't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading it wrong. That's my fault. I'm reading it wrong.
I
saw this character and I was reading it wrong.
Gotcha.
I think Maximus would be a great character if he had Enchantress's ability stapled on there of using his Mystic Defense, unless you pay to.
I was surprised that wasn't on there.
So was I. I expected it to be there when I first looked at his defenses. I'm like, oh, okay, he's going to have a way to use his Mystic Defense.
Right.
Just like Enchantress, Magneto.
Same thing.
I wonder if they think the 6 health on both sides is like enough to offset that.
A lot of 4s or 6 health, though.
Do you think it would have just bumped him into a realm where he should have been a 5 then at that point if they gave it to him? With everything else that he can do?
I don't think so, because like Xavier has the same thing where your opponent has to pay to go not against his Mystic. Mysterio has something similar. There's a lot of characters that have that high Mystic that you have to do something in order to get past that high Mystic defense, and they're not horribly high. Like, Mysterio's a 3, Xavier's a 4.
Yeah.
Enchantress is a 4 or 5, right?
4.
She's a 4. So yeah, there's already examples of 4s with that ability.
I just didn't know with the things that he has for superpowers, what he can do, if then adding that on top would have pushed him a little too much over.
I think it would make him more like, I don't think it would push him over, but I feel like if I saw that, I would be way more likely to instantly be like, I'm definitely going to play Maximus the Mad because I like the model and he should be like okay on the board to not get just pasted by a Hulk throw.
It'd give him a little bit more splash capability. Looking at his card now, I wouldn't take him outside of Inhumans. Maybe having that ability, I would probably do it because he would at least survive a little bit better.
I don't know.
But that two defense is just killer. He's gonna get wrecked. I mean, unless someone else down, like the others coming out, have something to help him, I just can't see him being on the board long enough.
It's rough, but that its madness ability seems pretty good. Like, I was just thinking you could take Dormammu, Maximus, and Crimson Dynamo. And so you're generating 2 power automatically every turn. So every turn, both of their abilities are automatically online. And you're like, all right, just keep re-rolling your attack die until you get nothing that matters. It seems pretty solid putting those two together. It's almost like combining the re-rolls from like Namor and Zemo together. If you stack it, it's just going to get better and better. Or if you could fit them into Cap 1 and just make them cost 1, that's pretty damn good.
Everything's good with Cap 1.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that.
That's for real.
Yeah, and it's not limited to once per turn. It is every time.
Right. Dynamos isn't either. Dynamos is every time you get it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I'm sure someone's going to find an affiliation outside of Inhumans to put him in that's just going to be out there that no one thought about, and it's going to do really well.
Right. I think there's some kind of secret sauce going on here, and he's going to end up being played a lot. And we're missing something, or I don't know. I think he's going to be on the board.
Convocation.
Now, I wonder if they're going to shove him into anything else, though. Like, does he make it into Cabal somehow? As far as I know, he's only an Inhuman. He basically only sits on the moon in a prison cell most of the time.
Yeah.
So I don't really know if he goes anywhere else actually affiliated.
Yeah, it might be a stretch if they try to put him into Cabal or something, but they might be like, oh, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, so that's what I could definitely see them doing, is basically saying he's a bad guy and to put him in this make-believe affiliation they have. So with that box on the way, when does that box come out?
Middle of March?
Middle of March?
I think it's like March 14th, something like
Right.
It's the week before Adepticon, essentially, or 2 weeks.
I thought it was I think it's 2 weeks before Adepticon that box comes out.
I think it's the same day as Gladiator, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so from there, speaking of boxes, we do have new affiliation boxes for the Guardians. I think AMG's been listening to us. So
Right? How crazy is that you had brought up that exact thing last week on the podcast, and what, 5 days later they're like, oh shit, Jeremy realized we didn't have new affiliation boxes, and they put 2 of them out.
Put it out quick. No, actually, I got an email from them. They said, hey, you need to stop.
Hey, thanks for the idea. That's what they said.
That's right.
We forgot all about those.
But no, I mean, it's a nice box. It has Star-Lord, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Rocket, and Groot in it. And then the other one, I believe, has Gamora, Drax. Is Nebula in that box with them?
Yes. And Ronan.
So, I mean, really nice boxes. Honestly, I will probably be picking up the Ronan Drax box just to have for Dracula, because I really want a Drax for Dracula affiliation. It's just nice that I don't have to go buying boxes I really don't want to get the characters I need. So,
yeah, I think they're 2 pretty solid boxes. I do think the Cosmic Ghost Rider getting put in that Guardians one, though, is odd.
It is odd.
he was by himself, though, right?
Yeah, and so was Star-Lord, and I think that's what made the problem. Was Star-Lord was by himself, and they needed to put another by yourself character in there. I just think Ghost Rider's relatively new, so that's what made it weird for me. Is they took a pretty kind of new character and put him in a affiliation box with a whole bunch of old characters just to like fill the slot. So I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder how much the box is going to go for then at that point, because of it having Cosmic and Star-Lord both being originally single models, now going into a box together. Unless they're going to have a really good deal on it, because what has most affiliation boxes been?
Average for the 4-cost boxes, I think, is 60. Because like that was Asgard's box, that was Dracula. I haven't bought many of the like the rehash affiliation box. I already have the models, but when I did for like prize support and stuff like that, I think they're all around that mark, which is a little bit, I guess, of a deal because, you know, Star-Lord was a cheaper box. He was like a $25 box. Then you have a $35 box on top of that with Groot and Rocket, and then Cosmic Ghost Rider by himself was probably $35.
Yeah, so I mean it's a little
deal.
bit off the top. Yeah, it's a good
Right.
deal. And
If
they're all good
it's
characters.
the price I said.
Obviously. Yeah. I mean, they're all good characters, so if you don't have them, it's worth getting the box.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think it's good to keep a lookout too, because there are potential for a lot of other things on the way. There seems to be a lot of things missing from Asmodee's website lately. I haven't gone through the full list of things, but like the apartment building, gone. It's not on there at all. It's not even under the sold out category. I just can't find it at all, as if it's done being made. Rhino, gone. Magic and Colossus's box, gone. And it's crazy because they do have like a whole sold out section. So I wonder are they just getting repackaged? Or what else is going on?
It could be ramping up for new like bundle boxes and character boxes, and
because you could definitely make more X-Men affiliation boxes. They've got tons to do that. We could definitely use a crime one, and Rhino's, you know, prime target to be in there with Kingpin.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with it all, and I'm sure this is the start of many to end up coming out. So we'll just have to look out for it, and hopefully with the apartment building kind of being out of stock, I would like to see it come back. I think it's a good box. Maybe they're going to introduce another terrain box, which would be nice.
Speaking of, thank you for bringing that up. If you look at Black Bolt and Maximus's panel to play picture, I should have put it up and I didn't. There is new terrain in the background.
I did see that.
Yeah. I'm going to pull it up right now. So is Gamora's. They're sitting in front of new terrain. But and so is Star-Lord and all the rest of them. So they all are basically sitting in front of new terrain. But Black Bolt's and Maximus's is like on a board. It isn't just like a background picture, where Gamora's and the other Guardians one is more like a background picture. I feel like somebody just made it. The ones in the background for Black Bolt and Maximus, though, are definitely just straight up hit.
I feel like that's Shatterpoint terrain that they reused to look like Moon terrain.
I mean, that's no Shatterpoint terrain that is currently out.
So, I mean, it could be a sign that they're ramping up for new terrain packs.
I mean, that's very themed towards the moon. Like, you can see a moon buggy in the background.
Right, with its little bally wheel?
Yeah.
That thing looks silly.
But, I mean, they did the same thing when Sentinels came out. They had a themed Sentinel terrain box, right?
Right. And it looks like it's like picking up, if you look behind Black Bolt, there's like a crystal pile. So it looks like it's like harvesting crystals. My only concern is whatever this structure is going on behind Maximus, is it does look very Shatterpoint, where it has like multiple levels.
And that's why I thought it was Shatterpoint terrain, because it does not play well for MCP.
Right. It definitely seems odd for MCP.
Also, but yeah, I mean, you can probably name 5 players that would have a hissy fit at that piece that's right behind Black Bolt, that little silo that's hanging off by itself. Like, I can't straddle that.
Well, you know, sometimes you can't stand on top of the things you want to, you know. It's there to be just removed from the board one way or another.
It's cool looking though. I hope it's not just a like a one-off set. I like how they did the Asgard set, where they had like multiple sets and you basically got a whole board out of it. So that would be really cool to get a whole King of the Moon terrain set, basically. I think that'd be really neat. Something different. It would also look really cool on I don't think I've seen anybody do a moon board. I think that would be really sweet.
As long as it's playable and looks nice, don't give us the Wakanda board again, please.
You don't want the floating island?
The floating island that had no back to it. It was completely hollow on the backside. It looked like crap.
It's supposed to be on the board edge,
Well,
so.
it's technically, I don't even think it's supposed to be on the board, period. It doesn't even have a size, I don't think.
It's more of a display piece.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because you're paying all that money, and it's just like, just give me something that I can use.
Sometimes it's a swing and a miss. It happens. But so kind of moving on from that, I know, John, I'll let you talk about this. We have the Mid-Atlantic Crisis Circuit starting up. We have Crisis Event 1 coming up here soon. Do you want to briefly go over that real quick?
Sure. So we have we call it the Mid-Atlantic Crisis Cup Circuit. And what we do is we try to gather players from all over the place to be able to play each other. And what it does is it travels. So at first we'll start at one store. We're going to do our second event at a different store, a third event at another store. And we kind of like to travel and go around the different areas in our tri-state area, Virginia, Maryland. We're looking into like PA and stuff like that. And what this does is it allows players to play different people more often. I feel like we had a lot of trouble, especially with like our group of people. We were always doing tournaments at the same store, and we were just getting the same people. And those same people, you can only play those same people so many times. Like, I'm basically playing my gaming group constantly already, and then I don't want to go to a tournament and pay to replay them all over again. It makes things dull sometimes. And it's nice to meet new people that also love the same thing that you love, and just get, a ton of games in, meet new people, have a good time. Go see new stores. You got to get out of your stores. You can't just stay in one store all the time. Get out there, travel around. It's totally worth it. There's always another store within like 45, 30-minute drive. So I would definitely, check it out. Our first event right now is going to be at Huzzah in Ashburn, Virginia. We are currently sold out at 32 players, but we do have a waiting list active. Take a look at that. If you're thinking about it, please sign up for the waiting list, because we do have people that come in and out because of kids, wives, things, whoever knows what comes up. But people do leave and come in and out. So there's always a chance you can still get in. And with that too, with all the events that we do, it ends up being a final in the end. So as you compete in these events, you score points, and those points lead up to our top 8. So whoever has the most points, our top 7 points actually, will go on to the championship. And then we have one final event to last qualify our 8th person. And then they all play for a wrestling belt that I have designed. And it's a lot of fun. Like I said, meet tons of new people, and it's a great time all around. We sell out pretty much every event. So definitely keep an eye open for it. It'll be on Longshanks. It's plastered all over the Facebooks that I'm on and stuff. So keep an eye out for them. We have more on the way.
Okay.
And then with that, let's take a look at, what are we taking to the tournament? What is our plan this year?
Well, I was going to switch it off of Inhumans, and I was going to try running Avengers, but AMG just said, no, we're giving you new Inhuman stuff. You're going to keep playing Inhumans.
All right, not even one. They're like, here's 4 brand new characters, 2 brand new leaderships. Here's some tactics cards. You're not switching.
Yep. So Inhumans, we stay, and so we're just going to shift the goal. My new goal is to reach number 1 Inhumans player in Longshanks.
There you go.
Not Longshanks.
Yeah, Longshanks.
Yeah.
Longshanks.
It's a good goal to reach. Good goal. So, Sean, what are you taking?
Yeah. So, I don't know. I really don't.
I'm in the same boat.
I
It's literally days away, and I'm still like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Just roll a dice.
I could run back Midnight Suns again. I could trump some people with some Asgard before they get nerfed, because please, AMG, nerf them. I don't have a man thing, or else I would try to build around his card just to piss someone off by displacing them, halfway across the board in one turn. Just man thing with Thanos.
I can build man thing. You can borrow them.
I have to put a lot more thought into exactly how I'd build around it.
All right, well, he's not going to do that, apparently.
All
lies.
Not in 2 days. So it's probably going to be Midnight Suns or Asgard.
Okay. So John, you're still kind of up in the air of what you want to take.
I'm up in the air, so I judge and run a lot of the events, so points-wise don't really matter for me. I usually play Shield. I do love Shield. I think, though, for this one, I've had an itching to play Claw Crime for a long time, and I really like him. I know he's not the best, that greedy leadership of his, but I played him in timelines. I had so much fun playing him in timelines that I think I'm just going to have a general good time playing him. So I've been painting up crime characters. I got Sandman painted. I love the Wrecking Crew. I think that model's awesome. I just want to play with it. So crime definitely seems to be where I'm leaning. However, if I can't solidify that 10-man roster and what I want to do, it'll just end up going back to Shield.
Yeah, it's always a good safe bet for you.
Right. It's what I know. It's definitely, I've played the most, almost the vast majority, almost like, I'd say like 90% of my games have been Shield. So it's definitely what I know, what I'm good at. But maybe it's time to change things up and do something a little different. Because I also don't think anybody's expecting Claw.
I would be excited to see Claw on the board. If you ended up doing it this time around, I would love it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just waiting to see how many of your opponents ask you to explain his leadership one more time. What does it do again?
His leadership is super simple.
It is.
It's the I shoot you away whenever you're done your activation. I say, okay, see ya. And I push all your guys away. It's going to be the real fun part. Because that's definitely going to get forgotten.
Yeah, it is. Though I'll remind you, the Claw was so much fun last year to play in Timeline, but we also had no characters with high energy defense in that Timeline event for 2024. So you're going to be facing up against, Hulks, which is the thing you did not have to play in Timeline last year.
True. But I think if you go if you take Sandman with it and you're kind of just going more control than anything else, and the goal is basically to play scenario with this crime, and just get off my stuff, go away, and take a lot of characters. And I want to go wide too. I don't want to play potatoes though.
All right, well, you better lose priority every single game, but good luck.
Yeah, sweet deal.
So
All good new things on the way. We got lots, planned for the cast and for the group and everything as the year goes on. So hopefully this circuit continues to grow too. I would love to eventually make a 2-day event. I think that might be a plan for next year, is to have one of our events maybe be our own thing. Maybe we don't need a store, So we'll see what happens.
all in due time. But so speaking of the year coming up, what are your guys' hopes, dreams, and what would you like to see come to the game this following year?
So I would like to, what would we like to see out of the new year for the game? But I would like to exclude some things. Let's not talk about wish lists, or things that are very basic, like character updates. Of course, we need character updates. The things that we all know we need, something a little different. Like, what I would say is, I think it would be really cool to have leaderships have a 2-part to them, where you get your leadership for being affiliated, so that 51%, you get your leadership. I would like to see something where if you are 100% affiliate, you get an extra bonus. Nothing massive, just a little something extra for being 100% affiliated to
Enough
encourage
incentive.
people. Yeah, to encourage people to take that full X-Men team or that full Web Warriors team and not have that, weird character splash as someone who doesn't really, everybody works together in Marvel, but at the same time, it's kind of weird you're playing Web Warriors and you have Crimson Dynamos there. You're like, what the hell's he doing there?
He's just hanging out.
Right. It's not that that's how it's played. Nobody's really using Crimson Dynamo with Web Warriors, but that's just like the idea.
And that is a really cool concept, because it could steer people away from having like ultra meta rosters going, where they've dipped the people that are just terrors on the board to get a little bit more bonus that might actually work well for an affiliation. So it might veer people back from just taking the common big guys like Immortal Hulk and Thor 2 and whatnot. So it'd be interesting to see that happen. I like
Right.
that idea.
Now, of course, we're excluding Hellfire Club, right? They don't get anything extra.
No.
Same with Dracula, all that shit. If you're doing any of those, anyone can come and play. You don't get a bonus.
Now, see, you just ruined what I was going to say. So I was about to say maybe it should just be like a generic rule for the game. If you're 100% affiliated, you get this generic rule, and then you just destroyed that. Because if you're playing Hellfire Club, you all are affiliated. It's like, oh, so that ruined that
we just
plan.
take it one step further. We get rid of those affiliations.
Mm.
They're gone. Get out of here. But no, I do like that concept. That'd be interesting if they do bring something like that, even if it's not for the whole game, but certain affiliations coming out start to introduce something like that. It'd be a nice little extra to things. So what do you think, Sean? Do you have anything interesting that you want
I
to
have
come
a
to the game?
list of 3 things that I would like to see.
Okay.
The first thing is I would like to have AMG release a balance update schedule and adhere to it. Like every 6 months, something changes.
No, not every 6 months. So you're turning into 40K.
Okay, well, at least on a constant schedule, because we don't know when they happen. They just happen.
So they have, they don't give you like an exact date, obviously, but they have said that it is every other year they do certain things. So like, it's supposed to be every other year, I think, is Crisis, and every other year is character updates. And they cycle off of each other, is my understanding. So this year we should more than likely get a character update pack at some point this year, I believe.
I think we're all kind of just itching for it, because I know we've talked in the past about certain characters really needing some love, and I think we're all just at that point, especially with some of these more recent characters that have just blown everyone out of the water, like Thor 2, going back to him always. I think we want it now, and I just hope they do a good job of it. I'm there with you, Sean, about maybe it should be something that's regulated, like so many months. They even if it's not a ton of characters, maybe try to help out the ones that are really hurting every so often, just to keep them viable in the game.
And I would like to just have a heads up, before, like when they rotated all those cards in November, like they just did that. They didn't make a big announcement like, hey, just FYI, we got a big shakeup coming to the game in November. Be aware.
That's true. I would like a better, clearer, time frame of like, hey, even if they're only doing it every other year, which I'm totally fine with, but tell us, be like, hey, just, in November, like, we're doing this. I mean, we knew Crisis cards were coming out, but we definitely, the card cull was a surprise. That kind of came out of nowhere. And it would be nice to have just a little bit more of a heads up that we can expect these things. When can we expect some of these things to come up? And then at the same time, I guess it really does shake everything up. I definitely do not. I'm against the every 6 months thing, because
I was just throwing a number out there. It's just, I want a consistent schedule. That's all.
Right. Well, I mean, 6 months for a ton of people, I could see being a problem. But if they're only like really hard focusing on 1 or 2 characters at a time to give them, a lot of love, like some of them do need, I'd be fine with that. If they're like, hey, here's the plan, this next 6-month release is going to be Sin and Viper. And then after that, we're going to give you this person on this date. And just try to have like a plan of which characters at what time are going to get the updates. That'd be nice.
I don't even need to know what characters are coming beforehand. I just don't like it when we get into the cycle that we're in right now, which is 1 affiliation, maybe 2, solidify the meta until something changes. And we sit there for a while.
I think you definitely need those nerfs here and there that we kind of have been getting, the Malekith, the Cosmic. Hopefully we're getting something coming up here soon to change things, right now. The Kaijus definitely need tweakings, but when it comes to the other ones, I don't think I want an updated character card. Like, here's 2 updated character cards. Because then I feel like it's almost like a creep, like a serious, it
Yeah.
happens. There is a power creep, but at the same time, there's like this little creep where, we just updated Sin and Viper. So, they'll get used for a little where they might be broken right away. And then 6 months down the road, we update these 2 characters and then those 2 are tossed to the trash. I'd rather just get that pile. I want that pile of updated cards.
Yeah.
It's
Now-
almost like getting a brand new game when you got, it was 20 characters?
Yeah, something like that when they first started. Now,
Right.
no, on that point, at least then, if they do a bulk update, then hopefully a card pack's tied to it. If they're doing a couple characters at a time, thinking about it now, yeah, that'd probably be bad because you're never actually getting updated cards for the year. And so having a whole nother pack of cards that are updated is probably the better choice.
Right. I much prefer having the physical copy printouts than having to go back and forth between Jarvis and stuff. And I also think too, like I've noticed, especially when the cards got culled, the Tactics cards got culled, and when a lot of the character cards changed, that some people were jumping into the game. They had no idea. I've been to several tournaments where they still have old cards on the board, and you're like, whoa, that got updated. And then it just throws them completely off because some of them could be like major changes for like updates where, they could have done a lot better in their games. I've seen people play with old Colossus cards. Some people play with old Cosmic Ghost Rider cards. And if your opponent is not, aware of said things or doesn't play against Cosmic Ghost Rider, he would just assume you have the new card because, you would assume those things.
I mean, there's been a couple times I've seen that at tournaments, and I look down and go, is that the new card? They have a new card? Yes. Yeah, you should have like printed it out. Definitely, it helps you. So
I mean, we saw that last year. People came with the wrong with old Crisis cards that have been banned from the game
True,
for
yeah.
like 2 years.
But and again, I mean, unless you're going onto their website and you're involved with it heavily, if you're a casual player, you're not on their website constantly, so you're not going to see potential erratas and updates that end up popping up like that.
Right. I get messages, so of course I follow them on Facebook and Insta and all that kind of stuff. So I know everything. Like the second it comes out, our group basically knows, and we all talk to each other. But I get messages from some guys sometimes. They're like, "Hey, did you know this character's coming out?" I was like, "Man, that character was revealed like a year ago. Where were you?"
Yeah. But so what's the other? You said you had 3. So what's
I do have 3, but I have to continue on this update thing. I also really would like them to have every single damn card, every single character card in a 6x4 downloadable format on their site. And they need to be updated to the current card. Like Cosmic Ghost Rider still hasn't gotten a new card from them.
I agree with you. I do find it a little painful that Grant, Jarvis is great. I love Jarvis. I don't feel like we should have to go to a third party to get the things we want. It should be from AMG already set up that we can just go onto their website, print out what we want and what we need.
And make them ready to go in that 6x4 format because they all have to be changed. They don't come in that 6x4 format.
Yes. Yep.
And there's like really great people out there on the Facebook pages that take care of that. Like I know that's where I got them from. I got them from one Facebook group. He's like, hey, I cut them all and made them all for a 6x4. Then I sent them to Walgreens, just printed them out in pictures.
I did that
and
myself.
It was perfect.
I wish I knew that someone else did that before I cut them, but okay.
Well, good on you for doing the extra work. But yeah, something like that. We're in an age now where social media and also like using manufacturers' websites is really commonplace. So having the tools and having the resources on your website should be mandatory. There's no reason why they can't have someone who is paid to just put those cards on. It probably wouldn't even take that long in reality to do it. And then once they're on there and you have a system on there, it's good to go.
It's probably you just need to, some template already set up and just cut and paste whatever you put in. And then bam, you're good to go.
I mean, they're printing the cards in that size format already anyway. So just give us the print file that you're sending to your printer.
Right, because what's the difference?
There is none, in my opinion, unless they're trying to say, oh, the reason why we don't put all our cards on our website is we don't want people to use proxy models and get the card.
But they're going to get the card when you do your showcase of it. So there's no difference. I mean, yeah, they have to go through those extra steps to make it fit in a 4x6 for themselves, but you're already showing the cards off and people just copy and paste the photo from your website.
Right. And I mean, I do notice there are a lot of proxies out there.
There are, but I think every game system out there has that situation.
These days, yeah, I think 3D printing has just, it's a thing and you're just going to have to accept it. I don't think there's any way to stop it outside of the TOs basically saying we're not using proxies. But for casual play and everything, definitely that's a thing.
Yeah. So what else, Sean, did you have?
Well, that was just topic 1. So topic 2 is I would like force organization charts added to the game. And what I mean by that is, several other game systems use this. What I would like to see is a restriction on taking multiple kaijus. So you get 1 slot for 6+, you get 2 slots for 5s, you get 3 slots for 4s, and then you can have as many 3s and 2s as you want.
Yeah, I mean, that would help reduce a lot of crazy attrition play that would pop up. I would even probably make it stricter. I'd say like one of the 5 through 7, like unless it's like a leader situation, have one big character and then everyone else kind of down from that. You do your 4s, your 3s, your 2s.
The problem is that Asgard do have a lot of 5s in affiliation and only a couple 4s. So
yeah, and that's a rough one.
So you could say you only get 1 6+, and you can flex that down to a 5, but I don't know. The key thing also was that no more than 3 4s, because that is what was making Hellfire Club so dominant. They were taking nothing but the super overtuned 4s, and they were putting 4 to 5 of them on the board.
Yeah. I think that'd be a little rough for some of the other affiliates. Like, isn't Crime a lot of 4s?
Spider Foes is almost entirely 4s.
But I see your frustration. I know where you're coming from with it, especially for someone like me who does run like high cost characters constantly, and usually run 3 or 4 deep. I would like to see the game start veering back away from attrition and away from the kaijus a little bit more. I just don't know how you do that without having like an iron fist come down and say, all these fixes are happening, sorry everybody, and making people mad.
Well, I mean, they kind of have that ability to do it whenever they do this new rebalance, right? That we were just talking about, that they just will do eventually. We just don't know when it's going to come. But pairing a force org chart, with what Matt was talking about offline, which was adding it to scenarios where higher than 3 threats could not interact with scenario objectives on certain scenarios. So like, hey, you're picking up a let's take deadly viruses, right? Be like, oh, that's a really fragile vial. Maybe a Hulk should not be picking up that vial.
He puts it in his pocket, but no, that makes sense. And then civilians might have to require someone who's a little stronger, a little tougher to lift them up.
I like that. I like that idea. Like senators, like you're not just holding his hand and taking him with you. You're picking up the senator.
Black Cat ain't lifting any senator up and then running with him, a long distance move. So it would make sense to kind of specialize it for different threat levels. Can pick up certain things. That'd
definitely
be
see that, because like when you play a game, you're pretty much always going to have either a 4 or a 3 somewhere in there. There's not too many times that you're just running, Thanos, Hulk, and someone else. But those times, maybe you should get a benefit from that, where it's like, hey, your 3s and 4s can pick these up, and that's it, basically. But then, I don't know, would it become a problem if I just target your 3s and 4s, and I just take those ones out, and then I don't have to worry about you picking up anything, because you don't have any characters that value to pick them up anymore?
I think that just brings it back to an even playing field then at that point, because then if you've brought the big hitters and you can't pick up the objectives, sure, you take out a 3 or a 4, but that's given those people at least a round or a round or two to be able to score the points off of them while you haven't been able to.
True, but then I still think it favors the attrition player because then he doesn't even have to try for points. You know, he's like, I don't have any 3s or 4s, so I don't care at all about even doing anything about it. So I'll just paste your guys. Yeah, you may get a couple of points on me, but if I'm focusing hard on just murder,
yeah, but
I
could
just
you imagine if it's a low cost pickup and say a long mover grabs it, and now you have a long mover that's just going to double move around the board, and Hulk has to go try to catch him?
There's only a few long movers that are 3 threat, though.
Sure, but I mean, they would be more so maybe taken then at that point. So you start getting into swaying it back towards very wide teams to try to compensate for any people coming saying, you know what, I'm just going to kill all your people. Well, good luck taking 6 people off the board, you know, and if they're all running away from you.
True, but then you have characters like Namor running around.
That's true. You can only catch one at a time.
And Namor doesn't care how
Slow,
fast you are.
Slow, get out of here.
All webbed up.
That's right. But now, well, and the other thing would be, could you see then the crisis not only being a situation where it is reliant on the cost of the character, but also then maybe there's benefits to having more characters on the board? Maybe if you have so many healthy characters left on the board, you score 3 points versus having a 2-point victory for having 2 or 3 healthy, or, you know, something similar to, we were just playing 40K the other day, and one of the objectives was if you do this one thing, you get 5 victory points. If you do something, or you get 3 victory points. If you do something better on top of that, you get 5 victory points instead. Could you see a situation where they start adjusting that the crisis says, hey, you know, if you have 2 or 3 healthy characters left when cleanup happens, you get 1 victory point. If you have 5, you get 2 victory points.
I think you kind of have that already, not in that extreme. So like Pummels is a lot like that, where you basically need 2 characters in order for Pummels to happen. So it does reward you for doing things like that, where you have a character there. And I think one of the new crises is like the same way, where you're getting rewarded for having characters in certain positions, which means probably, you know, having more characters.
Yeah, but when we discussed those last week, and I still don't know that is enough to tilt it away from attrition just going, okay, that's fine. You can't score if you're not alive.
But yeah, I don't think it's enough to tilt it off of attrition. I think attrition really there needs to be a major change of some sort to switch it from attrition, because the problem is you just keep generating characters, which is great. And that's the best part about the game, is we're getting all these characters all the time. That's great. But at the same time, you know, the more attrition characters that you make, even if you only make them every once in a while, well, I can play those every once in a while characters in its own team, and then attrition becomes the thing again. It's hard to put out characters and not have that be a thing.
So I think
it's hard to force scenario play is what it seems like.
I think
that
what
seems to be the difficult part, is how do we force scenario play?
And with what you stated, that's going to probably go into what my thought is, or something interesting that they could bring to the game. But Sean, I know you got one last one that you want to go over, right?
There is, but this is the most controversial one. Ready?
God.
Oh, gosh.
More controversial than a force organization chart?
Yes,
and,
it is. It's like
this PowerPoint is crazy.
I know that you're going to get pissed off the second I say this. So, ready?
No more Sentinels. What?
There's already no more Sentinels. Are you kidding me? Actually, that's the one box you didn't talk about being sold out with Sentinel Prime. Good luck finding them.
Yeah, that's random.
Pre-measuring, just allow it. Everyone cheats anyways and is just doing it. Half the people I play against are just pre-measuring because they don't actually understand that rule exists, that you're not allowed to pre-measure. So just allow it.
No.
Yeah, you see, I knew you
no,
were going to hate it.
No. And it shouldn't be that allowing pre-measuring because people don't read the rules. That should not be the reason. Like, because they don't know the rules means that you need to, like, obviously tell them or teach them. I get people are new to the game. It's like any game. And you're like, oh, that's a rule. But once you do it, it should stick with you. Now, those people that don't know the rules or that know the rules, that have played a lot of games and are very competitive and still pre-measure or proxy with their fingers, well, that's a whole different story. Then they're just cheaters.
Yeah, and I'm not going to name names, but if you watch the LVO stream, there were several high-profile players that were using their fingers to pre-measure the board.
Correct. And the opponent should be calling them out immediately because you cannot proxy your fingers. That is a thing.
I think it's one of those, if they're doing it, I'll do it, and I'm going to benefit from it. So they might not be calling it out because they're just going to fall in line and do it themselves.
I call out everybody that does it.
Oh, I do too. If it's a rule that's in the game, follow it. And if you don't know about it, honestly, there's a lot of people that don't know about it, and that's fine. But yes, once you get to a competitive level, then yeah, you should know, and at least the fundamentals, and that's one of the big fundamentals is you can't pre-measure and you can't proxy.
Right. And I feel like with that rule too, it seems like the overhang rule tends to be forgotten or not known about. I've seen it a lot on Facebook get posted of like, hey, how do I do this interaction? And it's like MODOK on top of a dumpster. And it's like, well, MODOK can't be on top of the dumpster, so this interaction technically can't even happen, kind of thing. Because he's too big.
Our guy's just a little too big for that dumpster.
Right.
Yeah.
But and those things get overlooked. Sometimes rule books are confusing and there's little tiny rules. And sometimes you have to go to the forums a lot for weird interactions.
So I would split the controversy. I'm going to be in the middle ground opinion here. I don't think you should be able to pre-measure, and I don't think you should be able to proxy your sticks. But I do think we should be allowed to use a line laser to see if something is targetable, like behind a piece of terrain, or if they're actually able to be seen from like line of sight.
I can agree with that.
I don't, because it's not a measure. If someone has a way to make a line laser measurement stick, good on you if you can wing that. But I don't understand why a line laser can't be used.
I think the reason that it's not used is because it should be more defined. So as the attacker, I guess, I feel like I should be able to use it, but that wouldn't even work either way. Where the problem becomes is just like when you're doing your movement, is you don't know exactly where you are when you put your model down. So when you put that model down behind the terrain and you think you're in cover, well, it just turns out that you're not. So when the opponent goes to attack you, you didn't move your model correctly, so this gives him a chance to take advantage of that. But the problem with that is let's say I'm moving my model, and I'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to get my line laser out to make sure I'm 100% in cover. And then that's where it becomes you're basically pre-measuring to an extent.
With that, I'll agree with you. Then make it a situation where judges, if they're called to say if something's within line of sight or within the parameters that you need a line laser, they should be allowed to use a line laser to give that final judgment and say, hey, look, no, this is what it is. And they have a visual tool on hand to say, nope, you're wrong.
100% to help judges make judge calls with like those kinds of things, especially if you're sitting there and you're in the finals and it's all a matter of what that angle is. I would love to have just a definitive laser line that said, yep, this is how this was, and that's the definitive answer with like, this is science right here kind of thing. You can't just, it's not a guess.
I mean, it really stinks when you call that judge over and their one eye's going to the left and their other eye's going to the right, and you're like, well, it's not going to be in my favor. So,
that sounds like Jeremy playing anytime he moves a model up and down a building.
That's right. Mine's a height difference. That's mine. Mine's up and down.
Up and down.
There's no way to have a laser for vertical. I'm sorry. I'll end up blinding everybody.
I think another one too with like the measuring sticks and pre-measuring, that the really hard one for people to really get behind is the like placing. You place within 2, but you want to place yourself also within 1 of the objective. And technically you can't have both sticks out at the same time. That one I could see being like, you don't know, but once you're told, that's when it should be like, all right, we're not doing it anymore.
Yeah, but I mean,
But that one's a pain in the butt.
It is, but then it comes down to a point. You're gonna have to overshoot your character. You're sorry, you can't be right at that one marker. You're gonna have to be a little bit closer than that.
Correct. Yeah, you're just not going to have exact measurements, but you should be able to eyeball yourself to see if you're within 1 or not. And then if you're not, that's unfortunate.
It happens,
right?
But all right, so kind of going on to what I would like to see in the game, and this kind of falls back to what we were talking about with crisis cards and what they can try to do to maybe bring things back to a wide place, like a wide play style scenario playing. I would like to see a change up of how crisis cards are done. And what I mean by that is we definitively keep the grabbing objectives, the not the secures, the
extracts.
Thank you. However, for secures, I would like to see them do a almost like a secondary objectives. It's random each round. So you end up flipping a card over, and then, hey, this is this round's secure objective. And it changes the locations of the objectives, and now you're requiring people to move around the board more, and it's not locking the game into a down the middle where it might benefit a lot of attrition players, and you're not locking it to potentially a wide game where it might benefit a very wide affiliation.
Similar to like what Shatterpoint does right now.
That's exactly what I was just thinking of.
Okay, yeah, so it would be very similar, but I know theirs is, 3 markers are active at one time usually, or something like that.
Yeah, but it's the same idea is what you're saying. I think it's all right idea. I think it's worth a try.
Because I don't know, it is very frustrating to try to figure out what they can do to sway this game back the other way. And I hope they haven't just thrown themselves into a corner where now they're going to have to take extreme measures to get us off this attrition play style.
So let me riff on your idea there, because I don't like the idea of it being a complete wipe and reset on each round, right? But what if you were once per game or somewhere in there, we're allowed to take basically a gambit. Like you're like, I'm going to take a secondary scenario for this turn. And it could be either a public scenario where your opponent knows, okay, this is now what I'm trying to achieve in this round. And if I achieve it, I get 4 victory points. Or it could be like a secret thing. Like it could be one of 4 different scenarios that I randomly picked, but you don't know which one I picked.
Now you're playing Malifaux.
There's plenty of other games that have a mechanic very similar to this, but
yeah,
yes.
But that's the first thing that came to my mind.
To keep it unique, though, I think it would still be good for them to just keep it as the secures. Don't give people like a quote unquote secondary objective over top of it. Keep it to the secures, and just, you don't know what the secures are going to, and maybe it's all named the same. So yeah, I guess like a Shatterpoint. I hate to say it that way. Like, yeah, like a Shatterpoint, but if you keep the secures random of where the position's going to be, like maybe it goes from a D shape to a B shape. And so now instead of squares, you're playing on diamond. And maybe right after that goes into an attrition down the middle. So if it keeps it random every round, then maybe taking attrition's not the best way to go, because you might have one round that you do really good, and then the next round you get nothing, because now all of a sudden it leans and sways into the wide play style. So it would keep it random enough that it might still make it viable to play either direction. And then again, your extracts, once you have them on you, your character has them. It's not like they're going to lose them. So that's why I would say keep those the same.
So I don't hate the idea, but I will throw out two major downsides to this. The first one is the clocks.
I was about to say the exact same thing was time.
It's fine in a casual game, but in a competitive setting, since there is no official like chess clock that anyone's using, it just can really screw some people on time. The other thing that I lost my secondary point. First one was the clocks. Sorry.
Just those clocks. Just
those damn clocks.
Just think of that like in general, if you have to manipulate the board, then you definitely have to change the time limit to the game. Like even just adding 15 minutes for that specific cause, because you don't want to minus down on players' time.
No, yeah, I understand. Like you don't want someone slow playing somebody else, and then all of a sudden, we gotta measure out the next objectives. Oh, this is going to take 10, 15 minutes to do.
Right.
So it is a fine balance. I guess it would be hard to be like, hey guys, you need to have this done in 3 minutes. Like measure them out. Granted, most professional play, everyone should be pretty quick at measuring the objectives out. We've done it enough.
You actually remind me of what my second issue was. Because you brought up professional play, a lot of players have gravitated to this game because of the exact way that it plays. So adding that much variation into the play might actually make them lose players instead of gain players.
I think you could say that about all. Like honestly, like when you said, let's make updates every 6 months or let's do the force organization chart, that was the first thing I thought too, is you were going to lose players. I think any major change is going to lose players, but it's also going to gain players at the same time.
Well, the force org thing, so I guess I didn't clarify. I would, any of those changes, I would only make for competitive events. They would not go in the rule book. They would go in the, what is their...
Challenger event.
The Challenger event, yes. That would be a rule for Challenger events only.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, it is a double-edged sword. I mean, I know people have gotten used to how the game plays and runs right now, but on the flip side, everyone's complaining about it being attrition heavy. And so what do you do? And no matter what you end up doing, you're going to upset somebody or a group of people.
Right.
Now, I feel like the top players, I think they'll be very adaptive. I don't think they're going to complain that much about it. And I think they would probably adapt very quickly and enjoy it no matter what it ends up being, the change. It's going to be your players that are just so focused on that one affiliation or that one play style, and once you change it up, they're going to be miserable. And there's not much you're going to be able to do about that. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. At the end of the day, it'll be interesting to see what the year brings. It's all good takeaways. The ideas we've thrown out there. I'd like to at least get a glimpse at what AMG wants to do to try to resolve some of the headaches and the concerns their community has for the game. But time will tell. So I think that's everything we had for the evening. You guys have anything else?
We do. We have one more special announcement. We have a sponsor now for Target Acquired Podcast. Game Chefs in Ohio is our new sponsor. So we do have one more announcement. We do have a new sponsor for the podcast. Target Acquired Podcast is brought to you by Game Chefs, your ultimate destination for all things tabletop. Whether you're looking for a new exciting board game, assembling your squad for Marvel Crisis Protocol, or building the perfect Warhammer army, Game Chefs has everything you need: miniatures, dice, rulebooks, and the best community of gamers around. And just for you, our amazing listeners, Game Chefs is offering 15% off your next purchase. Just use the code TAG2025. That's TAG2025 at gamechefs.org and save on your next adventure. Roll some dice and level up your game at Game Chefs. Link and code can be found in the description. And that concludes this episode of a Target Acquired Podcast. See ya!